Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Good Movies and Music. My name is AJ. We're continuing with our series of reacting to the top 12 albums of 2020 today, and we are at number 10, which is BC Camplight with his album Shortly After Takeoff. And before we go any further, you should definitely subscribe to this channel if you want to follow along with this countdown of reacting to the top albums of 2020. And when you do subscribe, remember to hit that little bell button next to it, because that's going to give you notifications whenever I upload a new video. So yeah, we are doing the top 12 albums of 2020, and that's based off of Metacritic. And I went with Metacritic because it compiles reviews and scores from multiple outlets, so I'm not relying on just one outlet, to tell me what the best albums are. And the reason I'm reacting to these best albums of 2020, which by the way I've never listened to any of them before, is because I've just kind of fallen out of the habit of keeping up with new music. And just for me as a lifelong music fan, I don't like the idea that I'm falling so behind on music. I want to know what's out there, I want to know what's new and what people are really digging. So at number 10, we have BC Camplight, Shortly After Takeoff. The past two albums I've reacted to have been albums where I've known at least something about the artist going into it. This is the first case where I actually know zero about the artist and zero about the album. So I'm going to do a little research here, kind of just to brush up. So if we open up Metacritic here, it says this is the final release of Brian Crescenzio. I'm sure I just butchered that, apologies. Brian Crescenzio's Manchester Trilogy. The funny thing about that is the first thing I thought of when I saw this title, Shortly After Takeoff, it reminded me of one of my favorite albums of the 2010s, which is by the band Elbow. They had this album, The Takeoff and Landing of Everything, and man, that's one of my favorite albums of the 2010s. And that band is actually from Manchester, I believe, or at least they have a Manchester connection. I feel like Shortly After Takeoff would actually have been a really good title for if they had done a B-sides collection or an outtakes from those sessions. That would have actually been a good name for that, Shortly After Takeoff. But anyway, that's just a tangent. So yeah, let's do a little bit of research. Is he from Manchester? Why is this called the Manchester Trilogy? BC Camplight is the stage name of American songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. Okay, so he is American. So in 2020, released his fifth album. It marked the completion of the Manchester Trilogy, which includes his two previous albums released on Bella Union. So here's his bio on their website. Examination of Madness and Loss. Okay. Sounds like we're going to go on a bit of a journey here. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so the three albums were created when he moved to Manchester. Okay, that makes sense. So I think maybe I'm expecting something more on the singer-songwriter side, something maybe really introspective. Okay. And the album is available for purchase on Bandcamp, which, by the way, support your artists. We're going to jump into this album here in a second. Just need to take a little sip of my tea real quick. And that is English breakfast tea. And no, I did not pick that out on purpose because I was listening to an album with an England connection. Just needed a little bit of a pick-me-up. I'm a little tired, if I'm being honest. And I'm not really a coffee person, so breakfast tea is my go-to. But anyway, that's another tangent. Let's not waste any more time. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. This is going to be my reaction to Shortly After Takeoff by BC Camplight. Let's go. So the opening track is called I Only Drink When I'm Drunk. So before I even hit play, this song and this album is already starting off on a really high note. I love a good dark sense of humor. Kind of a nice bluesy dirge, kind of yeah, I'm liking this attitude. Ooh, that's an interesting voice. Did you say singing Ace of Base? I saw the sign. Ooh, I like that guitar effect there. Ooh, did not expect that. You know that song by Radiohead, Subterranean Homesick Blues? This album is like if that Aliens still had the Homesick Blues, but it at least came above the surface and was like out in the world now. I don't think that made any sense, but it made sense to me. I love the whimsy with which that line is delivered. Very nice. Oh, what a strong start to an album. Oh, yeah. Thumbs up.
I called an attorney to get my affairs in order and everything. He said, you know I'm a personal injury lawyer, right?
Is he a budding stand-up comic as well? That's one thing I miss about live shows with this whole pandemic going on right now and not being able to go to concerts is the between-song banter.
Hallucinating that my dead father is in my bedroom. Does that count as falling?
I don't know if I should have laughed at that or not.
She said it probably was the cat.
This album so far has such a specific, peculiar sense of humor. These lyrics are so specific. Like there's that expression that the specific is universal, but this is so specific that I don't know what it is. Is that cello? What was that? It sounded great either way.
When we took off, I remember that I was a little shit to everyone there.
Did you say he was a little shit to everyone there? Self-awareness is good, you know? You gotta know when you're being rude to other people. Wow. The production on this is exquisite. It just sounds gorgeous, you know? I kind of like to hear the last minute of that song kind of chopped up and remixed as a hip-hop beat. I bet that would be so dope. Oh man, life's little synchronicities, right? I had mentioned Elbow's album, the takeoff and landing of everything in my intro. And like this album feels so much like that album. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, just purely like a coincidental kind of parallel thinking, you know, great minds think alike sort of situation. And it's funny because, you know, both bands have this Manchester connection, right? Man, what is it about that place that, you know, brings out this sort of energy? Like even the end of this song, Ghost Hunting, track 2 just now, was reminiscent of this song Flyboy Blue Lunette by Elbow, where there's these big swells of horns and, you know, it just has this really ominous, large kind of crashing feeling to it. Man, what a funny coincidence. But yeah, so far I'm really digging this album. Anyway, onward. Track 3, back to work. And that's what I'm about to do, is get back to work. Okay. It's a different sort of energy here. Oh, nice little transition there. Wouldn't we all like to say some clever shit when we die? Is this song a pandemic anthem yet, by the way? Because that's just like everyone who's been working from home for the last year. So use this song to get hyped up for when you have to go back to work. Another fun, ironic title here. We have track 4, Cemetery Lifestyle. Why does it feel like a Beatles song is about to break out? Ooh, that's not what I expected. I cannot put my finger on what 80s song that part, that synthesizer part. What? It's gonna keep me up at night. And I like how the following guitar riff and then the other synthesizer part, right here, that, and then a bass part. How these 4 parts like have nothing to do with each other musically, but it still somehow just works. Like it's these 4 slivers of 4 different genres and 4 different eras. Somehow it kind of works though.
Wonder if I would crack under fire. Wonder if I'm a rat. I'd make mistakes, they'd clean up the mess. We'll play Texas Hold'em and talk about religion.
There's a combination. I've played a lot of Texas Hold'em in my day. We've never talked about religion at the poker table. Is he saying I want to put out a hit on my brain? And we're at the title track, Shortly After Takeoff. You know, earlier I had joked that I sounded like a Beatles song was going to break out, but it took till track 6 for a McCartney song to break out. It sounded a little Wings-ish to me. It's taking a very different turn though. Ooh, that bass. It's trippy. I'm glad you mentioned aliens, because yeah, even that little guitar part there sounds like a flying saucer. And it's not the first time. He's had a bunch of like flying saucer sounding effects on this album so far. So he doesn't like to fly. He's not a very good car owner. Travel is not BC's forte, is it? Ooh, that was smooth. I kind of wanted it to go more in that direction.
See you when I see you, babe. That's all. Baby, I'm going through.
There it is again, that transition. I just want it to go in that direction. Like, yeah, what they're doing right there.
Baby, I'm going through.
See, what I wanted to happen is when he's like, baby, I'm going through. Like, I wanted it to just like, to build off of that and swell and kind of keep adding to that. And then just, you know, just kind of crescendo into something off of that, you know? But what are you gonna do? Angelo, final track, only a minute and a half. This track feels sort of like after dinner drinks, you know, like a nice little digestive, you know? Not a full-on song, but just a little something to like kind of take the edge off as you descend from the album. Wow, what a really peculiar album. Like, so many specific choices, both musically and lyrically. The attention to detail, like, you can't slap an album like this together. Which is funny because some of these, you know, decisions are kind of meant to feel slapped together, but clearly had a lot of thought put into them. A good example being the song Cemetery Lifestyle, which has that instrumental part where it's like there's a keyboard, you know, that goes dun dun, and then like this sort of a guitar riff, and then you get this weird little kind of almost UFO sounding, little sci-fi sounding synthesizer part after that, and then this like deep kind of growly bass line after that. And it's just like these four parts, like, it feels slapdash, like they don't really go together. It doesn't make sense, but like you could tell that decision was a very carefully crafted decision, and in the context of the song it makes sense, but it shouldn't work, but it does. I felt like there was a lot of that in this album, these just very specific, peculiar decisions, like a real attention to detail. And let's talk about the lyrics. I mean, that's one thing that he was really good at on this album is, you know, flipping expectations, you know, taking a line that sounds like it's about to be funny, but then it actually ends up being kind of serious, and vice versa, taking a line that, you know, on paper might look serious, but then the very next line undercuts it and makes it funny. Let's take the title track, for instance, Shortly After Takeoff. The opening line to that, and I just pulled up the lyrics here. Opening line is, I used to be terrified of flying. The second line is, I still am. And that actually reminds me of the stand-up comedian Mitch Hedberg, rest in peace. But it's one of his classic jokes. You know, he was known for his one-liners and really dry, deadpan one-liners. One of his great jokes that people love to quote a lot was, I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too. That just, it's basically the same format, this opening line. It reminded me of that, and that's, God, I miss Hedberg. Okay, one more Hedberg joke and then we'll move on. Somebody asked me if I want a frozen banana, and I said no, but I want a regular banana later, so yeah. But anyway, going back to the lyric in this song, after he says I still am, which, you know, feels like a punchline, the next line is, consider this proof of living, a flight deck recorder of life. And, you know, and it just brings it right back. It goes from serious to funny to serious, you know. That really seems like the tone of this album, where he's constantly undercutting the humor with, you know, some real poignancy, and then undercutting the poignancy with some, you know, just ironic dark humor. You know, it's man, it was a fun ride of an album. But it's such a specific mood and such a specific approach that just, I don't know how often I'm going to be in this very specific mood to listen to this, you know? Like, I appreciate it on an intellectual level. Like, it's a really good album. There's a lot to appreciate, but it's not a casual listen for me at all. I don't think I would just, you know, if I just wanted to hang out and, you know, just put some music on, just kind of something to, you know, vibe out to, I don't think this would be my go-to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just such a specific mood. But if I'm ever in this mood, this is the go-to album for it, you know? So let me know in the comments what you thought of this album, what you thought of this video. You know, I don't really usually listen to much indie singer-songwriter type of music, so I'm sure there's a lot of references, you know, other artists that this is similar to that I could have made and that I'm just not familiar with. So I would like to hear, you know, how unique and how different is this? Because to my ear, it sounded very unique and very different. But are there other artists who are in a similar vein to this? Like, who did this remind you of? Or is it really that unique? Because, man, to me, I haven't heard a whole lot like this, but I would be interested to know your thoughts on that. So yeah, that wraps it up for me for today. Just wanted to say one more time, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to continue to follow along with my reactions to the top albums of 2020, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Signing off for Good Movies and Music, my name's AJ. Thanks for watching and have a good day.